Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate day number 932. 932. October the 20th, 2019, Sunday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Okay, don't forget to get your comments in on the comment section on this video by this evening at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Dumbass of the Week. And it should be a very good competition this week. A lot of very strong competitors. I've already decided who I'm going to go with. And I'm not going to say at this point because I don't want to bias the voting or anything. So I'm just going to keep it to myself until tomorrow when I read off the winner. I'll tell you I thought was the true dumbass of the week. And boy, it is a tough one, but I think I've made my decision. Let's go ahead and get to the news of the day. The Gateway Pundit is reporting that John Durham is preparing to interview Clapper, the idiot Clapper, and Mr. Potato Head John Brennan, as well as other CIA analysts who were involved in the intel assessment of Russia's activities. And they are reporting here that these CIA analysts are all lawyering up, and they should. Also being reported by Ken Delanian of NBC is that there is tension between the CIA and the DOJ over what classified documents Durham can examine. Well, this is exactly why Barr needs to have a press conference and announce that the review that he is currently undertaking with John Durham is now a full-fledged criminal investigation. That would change the parameters of what Durham can look at and what he can subpoena. And of course, we know that President Trump gave the authority to AG Barr to declassify anything having to do with Russia, the Russia collusion hoax, the Russia investigation, or anything, all things Russia. So clearly, Barr may have to use a little force here. Now, of course, what we'd be talking about here is Gina Haspel. Why the hell she's still in her position, I do not know. But Haspel and Christopher No Shit Sherlock Ray, the current director of the Federal Bureau of I'm with her, both need to be booted right out the door. They need to be getting interviewed by Durham for their role in Spygate. There is absolutely no way that all the events that were going down in London in 2016, there's no way any of those things happened without Gina Haspel knowing about it. She was the station chief in London. We've had multiple former intelligence people interviewed on TV and other places who've all said no. I mean, the most prestigious job in the CIA is the head of the CIA, the director. The second most prestigious job is to be the London bureau chief, and that's exactly what Haspel was. They've also said that there's no way that those activities would have taken place in London without the London section chief being, at least at the very least, made aware of it. And in fact, she probably would have been involved. And at this point, I find it hard to believe that Haspel is still in that position, right along with No Shit Sherlock Ray. They both need to go, and they're both creating problems. But one way that Barr can certainly remove one of the major obstacles is to go ahead and make his investigation with John Durham official as an investigation, a criminal investigation. And then he can go ahead and start doing some serious subpoenas, convening grand juries, and getting the ball rolling. Now, it is possible that this has already happened and Barr just hasn't gone public. I don't think he has to officially come out and announce that what started as a review is now a formal investigation. It sure looks like a formal investigation at this point. There are a couple elements missing as far as we know, but we don't know everything. So I do think, though, that would be a good move for Barr, and I think it would help Durham as well. So the bottom line here is that Durham is obviously looking at the origins of the whole Spygate thing. And one of the key pieces of evidence here is, of course, that intel assessment that was done by Clapper, Brennan, and Comey, and apparently some of these analysts over at the CIA. So what Durham is doing is he's been looking into the origins of this, and quite honestly, he's not finding any of the evidence to support the ICA. The intelligence assessment, which, if you remember correctly, was this assessment by the FBI, the CIA, and the NSA that the Russians were involved in meddling in the 2016 election on the side of helping Donald Trump. That is essentially what they said. And that is what provided a lot of the steam for these investigations to move forward. It's one of the pieces of evidence that would be cited as an excuse for why they launched these investigations into Trump. Once Papadopoulos gets blown up, and it has been pretty much blown up, or anything else, this is going to be something they could fall back on. They could say, well, Obama could say, well, the intelligence assessment by Brennan, Clapper, and Comey made it perfectly clear the Russians were interfering in the election, trying to help Trump and hurt Hillary. That was their assessment from the intelligence community. So this is what Durham is now looking at, and what he wants to do is he wants to ask him. He said, I've been looking around at this evidence based on what you put in your assessment, and I really can't find it. So I want to see the documents. I want to see the evidence. I want to see what you guys used to formulate that opinion, I guess is the best that you could call it at this point. It certainly wasn't analysis, because there's not really much to analyze. So clearly Durham is squeezing these people, is basically what's going on. He knows that intelligence community assessment was bullshit, and he's calling them out, and he's going to force them to produce some evidence for why they made the assessment they made. And that's going to make some of these CIA analysts very nervous, because their names are on some documents, and they're going to have to come up with some answers. And that of course means that Durham will want to see this evidence. And the issue is not that the intelligence community thinks that these are so secretive that Barr and Durham can't see them. No. The fact of the matter is they know they have nothing. And this is what they're hiding behind. They can't come out and say, well, you got us. There really wasn't anything there. We just kind of made it up. They can't say that. So all they can say is, well, the stuff that you want to look at is too secret. It's too classified. We can't show it to you. Something tells me that may help in the short term. This may delay, cause a problem with Durham initially, but eventually, he will force them to, either in a Q&A, open Q&A, or through documents, he will force them to admit that they made it all up. Just like everything else. That's why they're lawyering up. We also have the Gateway Pundit, who had quite a few good stories today. The first couple, 2 or 3 stories, to come directly from the Gateway Pundit. This other story is reporting that the bug-eyed fool, the pencil neck geek, Adam Schifferbrains, that his staffers met with Petro Poroshenko, the former corrupt president of Ukraine. Gateway Pundit is reporting that Schiff's staffers met with Petro Poroshenko on July the 22nd, 2019. Now it is being widely reported that a convoy of trucks were seen emptying Poroshenko's home this weekend. And we have this Ukrainian TV station, KYIV, reporting that the raid is related to Poroshenko's alleged corruption and money laundering. The order for the raid was given by Ukraine's top prosecutor, who's investigating this corruption and money laundering by Poroshenko. Poroshenko's right-hand man has already been arrested 2 days ago, and another suspect who they were trying to arrest had fled the country to escape capture. And it's being reported right now that Poroshenko himself has fled, or is either fled the country or is trying to flee the country before they get to him. Of course, Poroshenko was involved in the corrupt dealings with the Bidens and with the Obama administration. Yes, that's right. They're closing in on the big fish. And he'll sing like a bird. And this, of course, shouldn't surprise us. I mean, this new prime minister of Ukraine, we just saw him with Trump a couple of times. We've learned some of their conversations, and we know he ran on an anti-corruption platform. And he is doing the same thing Trump is doing, really. I mean, Trump is going back, looking at the corruption of 2016 here in the U.S. And, of course, here we have this new president of Ukraine, Zelensky. He's doing the same in Ukraine. He's going back doing just what he said he would do, which is to go back and uncover the corruption there in the Ukraine. And there was a lot of joint efforts, a lot of corruption between the UK and Ukraine, the U.S. and Ukraine back in 2016. And it's been going on for a very long time. And it's not just the interfering in the election or anything like that. I mean, it's much, much more than that. That's important, and it's specifically what Trump's looking at. It's what Barr and Durham are looking at. But there's it appears just a very wide and deep sort of amount of corruption going on between the U.S. and corrupt Ukrainians now for a very long time, and not just U.S., but I'm sure Ukrainians, a lot of corruption with a lot of countries, European countries and others. So it looks like that the light is being shined upon the rats, and they are fleeing. Some of them are getting away, but not all of them will. And Poroshenko, with the type of things that you're talking about here, I don't know if there's any capital crimes, murder, or anything like that. I don't, to my knowledge, I don't know. It's mainly corruption, money laundering, theft, things and such. But I mean, he could leave the country, but I mean, they could probably go to the international courts and probably have him picked up anywhere he is. I don't know that fleeing the country is going to help him. So anyway, we'll continue to watch this story. It's a story that's moving pretty quickly. It looks like this prosecutor that's now in charge over in Ukraine, who's now helping Barr and Durham. It looks like he is cooperating, I should say. It looks like he is dropping the hammer, and he's holding up his end of the deal in Ukraine. He is definitely going after the corruption in the previous administration, and I imagine he could go back as far as he would like and find it. It doesn't matter who was in charge there. Okay, well, we have the Rotten Reverend. It appears that she has bailed out of a speaking gig at the, quote, most powerful woman summit, unquote, in D.C. So she's supposed to appear at this most powerful woman summit in the District of Criminals. But it looks like now that she is pulled out of that speaking gig. And it's likely because of the beatdown she just got from Tulsi Gabbard, who's also scheduled to speak at the event. Looks like Hillary blinked. Yeah, that was an epic takedown. In fact, that may be the most epic takedown I've ever seen. I honestly cannot remember a more epic takedown than what Tulsi Gabbard did to the Rotten Reverend. Of course, it was Tulsi Gabbard who knocked the stuffing out of Kamala Legs in the Air Harris back in that second debate, when she called Harris out for her leaving people on death row, even though she knew there was evidence that would prove their innocence. It was only after she was forced to let those people go that she let them go. And she never recovered from that. Kamala Legs in the Harris was on a high note. She was riding high. She had just delivered a couple nice moves on her own, and then along comes Tulsi Gabbard and knocks the stuffing out of her, and she has never recovered from that. Now, this particular blow on the Rotten Reverend Clinton has the demonic buzzard on the mat. She is on the mat for a 10 count, and I'll be honest with you, folks. You know, I've been saying since practically the day after the 2016 election that the Rotten Reverend Clinton was absolutely going to run in 2020. And I still believe that's her total intention. But I'll be honest with you, this takedown by Tulsi Gabbard may be so epic. It might be so epic that this might actually have taken the Rotten Reverend Clinton out. I mean, that was devastating. I mean, even CNN, MSNBC, left-wing websites, whatever you want to call them, even they are admitting that this was one hell of an epic takedown. Because what made it so epic is it wasn't just, calling her names or what have you. It was such a beautifully delivered statement with the words. I mean, every single word that she said and just how she put it together is so true. And even the Rotten Reverend Clinton, when she read the response from Tulsi Gabbard, had to know how devastating that was, because every word of it true. It's absolutely, I mean, that was just epic. It's a thing of beauty. It's a shame. I mean, I disagree on Tulsi Gabbard on probably 90% of her policies, but I have to admit that may be the most epic takedown I've ever seen. I mean, it's brutal. And so the Rotten Reverend Clinton, the crooked old magpie, is down on the mat. She's seeing stars, man, and she's taking the 10 count. I don't know if she gets back up. I really don't. Now, it has nothing to do with the fact that so many people dislike her, or that even when they throw her name into a poll, she doesn't even, come in the top two. She's comes in behind Warren and Bernie right now, and Biden, I think. And we already know there have been many Democrats who've been asked about the Rotten Reverend and entering the race, and just about everyone, even people who like her, even people who know her, are saying, nah, not again. That was it. But I don't know. I just don't know if the Rotten Reverend Clinton, her ambition for power, her desire for power, or even just to be a martyr. I mean, I don't know. I mean, does she actually believe that she can beat Trump? Now, she may believe that if her plan works and they can beat up Trump enough, or try to force him to resign, or come up with something they can use for impeachment, maybe she can weaken him enough. Maybe they can take him out. Maybe she thinks that will open the door for her. But, she very well could be delusional. We know she drinks a lot. She's probably on medication. She's nuts as hell. But, and remember, she's surrounded by mostly people who kiss her ass and tell her what she wants to hear. A lot of people make a lot of money and have gained political power by associating with the Rotten Reverend Clinton. And she and her husband still wield a hell of a lot of power. But I'll tell you, this blow right here by Tulsi, this may have ended it right here. I would love to see a rematch of 2016 Trump versus the Rotten Reverend. I think it'd be fantastic. I'd love to see that, and I'm hoping to see that. And I believe that's up until about 24 hours ago. I thought 100%. There's no doubt the Rotten Reverend Clinton's going to find a way, and she still may find a way. Maybe she thinks this will blow over. She's going to lay low for a couple of months, couple of weeks, whatever, until this blows over. But I think she's going to try to squeeze in a brokered convention, or I don't really know exactly what plot the Rotten Reverend will use to try to get in there. But she's got to hope that this blows over, because I can tell you that this one here is going to linger for several weeks at least. So yeah, she'll definitely be doing more than canceling appearances. So it looks like the what is she calling her book? Tough Women or something? Yeah, that I think she just got punked here by Tulsi Gabbard. Absolutely epic. Absolutely epic. The Rotten Reverend Clinton is a dumbass. She messed with the wrong person. She tried to bully the wrong person. And, man, she sure got her ass handed to her. Hard. Well done. Well, it looks like Uncle Bob the Executioner, that corrupt son of a bitch, he's not out of the woods either. That corrupt son of a bitch has now been slapped down by a federal judge for redacting the names of two key figures in his Mueller report. It appears that Mueller's team claimed that there were two witnesses that Mueller said had testified to a grand jury, and therefore their names had to be redacted. But it turns out that these two individuals, who were key individuals in the Mueller report, turns out that they did not testify to a grand jury. And now that this has been brought to the attention of a judge, the judge has looked at it and determined that Mueller and his team, I don't think they use the word mistake, but they certainly are caught whatever you want to call it, they are caught trying to hide the names of these two witnesses by saying, yeah, they were grand jury people, so we can't release their names. Turns out they weren't. And therefore, the judge is now ordering that the names of these two individuals that was redacted in the Mueller report now be made public. They have to unredact those names, re-release the report with everywhere where these two persons' names appear must be now made public, no longer redacted. I think I know who one of them is. I think one of them is Halper. That's why I think one of them is Halper. I don't know about the other one. Could be Downer. But anyway, we have Uncle Bob the Executioner getting slapped down by a federal judge. And the more you look at the Mueller report and everything in it and how it was put together and who was behind it, the whole 9 yards, the more dirt you're going to find. And I'm pretty sure that Mr. Durham is going to be looking very hard at this, as well as Attorney General Barr. And, you know, Uncle Bob the Executioner, he's got some problems. Because, I mean, he was part of the coup plot. And I don't think there's any doubt in Barr's mind about that at this point. Of course, we all knew this a long time ago. Well, it looks like Alexander Down the Hatch Downer is busted. Busted. Thanks again to the Gateway Pundit, another good story, and I don't know if they originated this story, but that's where I found it. It appears that the question that they're raising here, just get right to the point, the question that they're raising here is the Gateway Pundit, is that if Alexander Down the Hatch Downer spoke to Papadopoulos in the month of May of 2016 and brought up the subject of, you know, Russians having Hillary emails, the question is, how did Alexander Down the Hatch Downer know that the Russians so-called allegedly hacked the DNC computers? How would Downer have known that if, in fact, CrowdStrike did not release the report until June? How did Downer know that Russia had hacked Hillary's emails in May when it wasn't until June when CrowdStrike actually released the report, blaming the Russians? Does Downer have ESP? I imagine that that's a very good question, and I imagine that is a question that Durham either will ask or has asked Downer. How did you know? You had this conversation with Papadopoulos. You're talking about, you bring up this point about the Russians having the Rotten Reverend Clinton's emails. The problem is that the CrowdStrike report making that claim did not come out until a month after you mentioned it to Papadopoulos. How did you know? You see? That's the problem. Downer is basically going to be outed. Okay, let's just get right down to the bottom line. He's no longer a government official. Giving up Alexander Down the Hatch Downer is minor stuff. I mean, he's already pretty much outed in Australia. I mean, not too many people. You go over and watch Sky News, read the comment section, you listen to the people on Sky News, you watch some of the reports coming out of there. Most people in Australia now pretty well know that Alexander Down the Hatch Downer's activities, what he was up to in the 2016 election. Most people have a pretty good understanding of what a scumbag this guy is, and even many people in Australia want him outed and punished for his role in Spygate. He's not that popular there, and he is no longer a government official. So, yeah, I think that it's very likely that Alexander Down the Hatch Downer is going to have to come out at some point and admit what he was a part of. And, you know, every time he's interviewed, his story changes. And he doesn't want to talk about it, but every time he's interviewed, that's the first thing he's asked about. And every time he's asked about it, his story changes. It's just he can't give a consistent answer. And you can just tell he's lying. I'm watching one interview with him, this is probably about 6 months ago, and they're talking to him about, you know, the whole Spygate thing, and he literally goes off and starts saying, well, you know, look, I mean, this is all this, you know, spooks and all this sort of thing. He's like, you know, first understand, I'm not in the intelligence business. I'm not a spy. I'm a diplomat. My whole career has been as a diplomat, not as a spy. I don't know about all this cloak and dagger stuff. Hey, I'm just a diplomat. Right. This guy's up to his eyeballs in intelligence, hangs out with intelligence people. He was on the board of Hackloot. In fact, Papagalopoulos says that during that little meeting they had over in England, he says that Downer was actually bragging to him about being on the board at Hackloot, at which point Papagalopoulos didn't even know who Hackloot was. Didn't even know. And he said that Downer was bragging about it. Yeah, I mean, this guy's up to his eyeballs in all sorts of clandestine intelligence activities. So no one really believes Downer. Everybody knows he's lying. And it's just a matter of time. And the Australian government has sent a letter. You can read it. It's over on Conservative Treehouse. They sent a letter back in the spring explaining it. Yeah, I mean, we'll certainly cooperate. Downer's no longer a member of the government. We'll cooperate. We'll give you documents, whatever you need. And of course, he's a private citizen, so we can't force him to talk to you. But he's a private citizen. I mean, if you can do whatever you do legally to be able to subpoena him or bring him in for questioning or whatever, or if he wants to voluntarily talk to you, the Australian government, we have no problem with it. He's a private citizen. He's all yours. Have at him. They're not trying to defend him at all. Alrighty. And remember what we learned yesterday. The documents that Durham wanted from Australia regarding Alexander Downhatch Downer, and they got them, by the way. Lots and lots and lots of documents. And the key thing that they were really focused on, Barr and Durham, concerning Downer, was documents that would detail his association with the Clintons, the Clinton Foundation, and the Clinton Global Initiative. They're very interested in the ties between Downer and Clinton, just like they're very interested in the ties between Mifsud and Clinton. Did any of you guys catch the video clip of Alex Jones at the Trump rally in Dallas? Alex is literally coming down the street in an armored vehicle. He's in an armored vehicle. I don't know who's driving it, but someone's driving an armored vehicle, and there's Alex. He's up in with the thing with the hatch lid open, with a bullhorn, bullhorning up and down the street with all the Trump supporters who were outside that couldn't get into the rally, and he's bullhorning about the fact that Phil Mudd, this former CIA guy, went on CNN and said that they were going to get rid of Trump one way or another, and that the CIA would find a way to get rid of Trump one way or another. So Alex is going up and down the street in this armored personnel carrier, this armored vehicle, bullhorning about how the deep state is here in Dallas to assassinate President Trump, just like they did to Kennedy, and we're not going to let it happen, and all this sort of stuff. So you gotta love Alex. You gotta love, like him or hate him. You have to certainly credit him for his tenacity in fighting the deep state. I mean, Alex Jones in an armored vehicle bullhorning Trump supporters at the Dallas rally. That is absolutely epic. It's classic Alex, man. I mean, that's why I remember years ago when I first discovered Alex Jones, this is long before he ever had a radio show or anything. Back then, I guess this is probably maybe late 80s, maybe? Late 80s. I first heard him, I think, on the Coast to Coast radio show. He used to be on the Coast to Coast radio show sometimes as a guest, and that's why I first heard about him. And then at that time, he was making videos. He was making these documentary videos, and I ordered a couple of his documentary videos. I mean, they were really good. I mean, I thought, man, this guy is really, as far as digging into the globalist and the deep state, the New World Order. I mean, this guy is like second to none. And I learned a lot from Alex back in those days. And I think the moment I can remember where I really said, okay, I truly respect this guy, even though he may be kind of nuts. He's off the cuff a bit, and he's over exaggerates a lot of things. But when I saw him standing out there by himself, this was back maybe early 90s, and a video, it's in one of his videos, where he's bullhorning the Bilderbergs. They're at a hotel somewhere in Europe, and of course they got the cops there, and they got the place, roped off, and you can't get in. And there stands Alex all by himself with a bullhorn, just a few people around him. This is back in the older days. Now when he goes and does that kind of stuff, he draws hundreds, if not thousands, of supporters that stand with him. But I remember back in the old days, it was just Alex. I mean, I thought, man, this guy's got major, major balls. I mean, this guy is going to travel all the way over to Europe for the Bilderberg conference, and all by himself, he's just going to stand there with a bullhorn and just bullhorn the hell out of the Bilderbergs. And he drew a lot of attention, and he woke a lot of people up. I mean, like I say, like Alex or hate Alex, you have to at least always credit him for waking up one hell of a lot of people. And me, I would say I'm one, for sure. Well done, Alex. Well, the neonrevolt.com is reporting that the U.S. Embassy in Rome is stonewalling Ocenaro's lawyer. So we've talked a lot here about this man Ocenaro and his sister, the Italian guy, who claims that he was set up by the government, framed in an operation. It was a joint operation between Italian government intelligence people and the Obama administration. He's the guy who owns some businesses. He's got a couple businesses inside the U.S. They were going to plant some hacked Hillary Clinton emails onto his servers and his U.S. companies. Then the FBI was going to come in and find them, and then they were going to use that to frame Trump by associating Trump with Ocenaro. So Ocenaro has put together, along with his lawyers, a lot of evidence, which, you keep reading this stuff, it's starting to pile up and look fairly legitimate. So they had a fairly good deal of evidence in a document binder that they had put together, and they were following the official way of doing things by getting information from a foreign government or a foreign prosecutor or foreign entity into the hands of the U.S. government. Following the procedure, they went to the U.S. Embassy, and the U.S. Embassy, when the lawyers for Ocenaro went in and presented them with this, said, yes, I would like to get this to Department of Justice people or FBI in the United States. They went through the official process. But when they attempted to do so, the U.S. ambassador, his office there, rejected that report and basically said, no, we're not gonna forward this to the U.S. government. We're not gonna do that. So take it and leave. So clearly they do not want to. The U.S. Embassy in Rome is clearly stonewalling Ocenaro's lawyer. So it appears now his lawyer says that he's now reaching out publicly to anyone at the Department of Justice, the FBI, any American lawyers, any American people who can take their information and can get it to someone in the Department of Justice or Barr or Durham or someone. So definitely they are still trying to get this information out there. It's a very interesting story. I mean, we've been talking about it here for quite some time. There seems to be quite a bit of evidence to support it, and I am baffled myself as to why no one wants to look at this on the U.S. side. Of course, I know why no one in the previous administration will want to look at it, but why, now that Trump is president, why do they still not want to have someone take a look at it? I mean, they were just over in Italy looking for this type of thing. So I think maybe Barr and Durham ought to contact the Ocenaros and at least have a look at what they've got. It's kind of crazy, but with everything else that went on, I think it's certainly possible that what they're saying is true. Certainly needs to be given a look and needs to be investigated. And Durham could do that. Well, we had Jill Stein going on CNN and responding to the Rotten Reverend Clinton. That, of course, Rotten Reverend Clinton didn't just say that Tulsi Gabbard was a Russian asset. She said Jill Stein was as well. So now CNN brings on Jill Stein, and she says, well, basically, Hillary should know I am not running. First of all, I'm not even running on the Green Party ticket this year. She said Tulsi is running as a Democrat. She's always been a Democrat. She's still running as a Democrat. Stein says that she is not a Russian asset, doesn't believe that Tulsi is either. Stein says that Hillary is crazy and has no evidence to prove anything, but she's still trying to explain why she lost. Pretty much. Alrighty, well that's all we got time for today. Don't forget to get in your Dumbass of the Week selection on the comment section of this video. Thank you for tuning in. I'll be back tomorrow with more TowerGate. See ya. Bye.